back onto another edition of Newsmaker, where we make some news from within and outside us. Today we are going to trace it. We are going to trace it from two different countries, the US and Nigeria. Then what are we looking into today is having to do with life. And when you are talking about life, you are talking about Earth. Yes, you can see that since 2021, the US has committed to providing nearly $20 billion in aid program in Africa. And at the same time, in 2023, the US invested $600 million in aid assistance in Nigeria. Yes, recently, with the emergence of the new president for America, then he propounded some policies. Part of it is aid issues, where he has withdrawn some assistance to some countries, including Nigeria. Then we want to look at it. Are we enough to take care of ourselves? Then what are going to be the effects of the US policy, because we are allies to USA? What is going to be our gains, that is our loss from that. That is why we are having an expert who has traveled wide and within the country and outside the country, throughout the world, and he knows what is called earth, because he's a professor. When we are talking about veteran, that is in journalism, we are going to be talking about what a prof in this one. Not only a prof, the immediate past chief medical director of Osun State University Teaching Hospital, Osogbo. He is Professor Peter. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Good morning. Good afternoon. It's nice to be here.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, with the data that we have given, that how the USA is helping Africa, particularly Nigeria, then now that it is now about to withdraw some of these aid to Nigeria, do you think that we can still survive, and how can we make up these missing bounties that US usually give to Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. Over the years, the United States of America has really helped us as a nation, as a country, especially concerning our health through the USAID program. And a lot of money, like you rightly said. Indeed, in 2003, over $1 billion was spent in Nigeria on our health sector. Not just in the health sector, they also involved in rural development, in our elections and all that, but particularly in health. You know, they've been with us over the years. Indeed, when I was the chairman medical advisory committee of the union, so then Lautech Teaching Hospital, we had a program which was brought in on the care of AIDS, and that's one area that the United States has really helped us through the PEPFAR program. And so they spent quite a lot of that. We brought them in then because a lot of our people were dying from HIV, as at that time HIV incidence in Osun was about 2%. And the people had to travel to Lagos, to Ibadan to attend to their care. So we got in touch with HIV and then they came through, and of course it's an agency of United States. And so they brought a lot of funds for us, renovated our buildings, supplied materials, supplied equipment, supplied generator. In fact, they were paying they brought in all the people that would be able to take care of the HIV patient. So they were taking care of the HIV patient, free drugs, free investigations, even food. They were giving them food. They were giving them transport fare. Okay, but over the years, this has thinned out, and as at January, just before the President Trump took over, this has thinned out to drugs alone, free drugs and investigations. And they are involved in treatment of HIV, they are involved in treatment of tuberculosis, they are involved in prevention, they are involved in primary health care, vaccine, immunization, you know, so training. So they were involved in all these up until President Trump came. And unfortunately, President Trump has also been saying that he would do this whenever he came in. We thought it was a joke until he declared and gave executive order, and he hasn't stopped it permanently. He said he's stopping it for 90 days. That's like 3 months, and to study whatever is happening. Of course, the impact is tremendous on us as a country. We really didn't plan for this. We didn't prepare for it. If somebody is feeding you every day and then he suddenly stops that feeding, you're going to have a shock. You're going to have some little challenge before you get yourself. But I think the federal government is also trying to come up, because I know that the federal government has tried to to put a committee in place and put about over $1 billion to say, look, all these areas that the USAID has been helping Nigeria, that this committee should look into it and use this fund to, because the vaccine, for example, we're going to be having increase in maternal mortality, we're going to be having increase in infant mortality. If you remember, in the 60s and 70s, there were these people we call abiku, because children were dying. It's because of lack of immunization. Once the vaccine came out, people were being immunized, this disappeared. You could be sure that your children will live as you give back to them, unlike what used to be. So it was this aid that actually has assisted over the years, and then suddenly that is being stopped. And I'm happy that the federal government is looking at that. I hope and pray that this can be sustained.
Okay. The pulling out of US from WHO, then stopping, that is for a while, the assistance given to us through HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis too. Then do you think that Nigeria, as we are, we cannot fend for ourselves?
Yeah, I think we can, but I think we have not prepared to do. I think that's the problem. But to be fair to Nigeria government, I think we've been overfed over the years, that we left certain things, certain care that we should be giving to ourselves to them. And so we didn't see it again as our responsibility anymore over the years. And so that is a problem. Once you are not used to doing something and then suddenly you are asked to do it, it will take time. We can do it. I mean, we can do it. The United States has really helped a lot since 1961. They've brought this program on, and a lot of countries have benefited all over the world. I'm sure there will be a policy rethink on the part of the United States. But even if that doesn't happen, I think it's a time for us to sit down and ensure that our people do not go through look at it, Nigeria. The budget for Earth is about 4% now. And there was an Abuja declaration in 2001 that stipulated that all African countries will put 15% of their budget into Earth. So we put 4. You can see that gap.
Nigeria budget 2.4 trillion naira.
Yeah. And then 4% of that is given to Earth instead of the 15% that was agreed. So that's a problem. And so as a nation, I think we should be able to sit up and say, look, we need to take care of our people. We need to take care of ourselves. It's our responsibility. It's not the responsibility of another country to come and take care of us. And so there should be a policy rethink, and there should be a strategizing and the planning. And I think the federal government has started that. And I hope also that all the states will also sit up and do the same. Local government will do the same. And so we should be able to. But it will take time, I must confess to you. And it will take a lot of pain before we can get to where I just pray that America will not stop it eventually.
But if they actually stop it as they are planning, are you saying that Nigeria should be expecting greater number of casualties?
Yes, that's the truth. Unfortunately, like I said, the country is trying to block that area, okay, plot that hole, and I think if they are able to do that, we bet it cannot be the same. I mean, we're going to have some time of some strain, some pain, okay, before we can
even
say
some losses.
Of course, losses. Before we can say that the country will be able to stand and be able to do it so smoothly and go back to the previous point where the US aids have actually helped the country.
Okay, that means you are likely to support people who are saying that Nigeria is a country with a fire brigade approach, that we are not prepared for it, because why can't we be? Why are we relying on another country at the expense of our own?
Yeah, I think this is an eye-opener to us to know that, look, help is not always available from. You shouldn't depend on help from above. If you are my brother and all the time it's you I come for, I want to get transport fare, I want to get my shirt, I want to get my food, I come to you. God helps me the day anything happens to you. So as a country, I think we shouldn't over depend on other countries. I think this is a lesson that we've learned, unfortunately, in a hard way.
Last week, the federal government announced that it was going to employ 50 doctors and 100 nurses, possibly in preparation for this. Can it be no?
Yeah, it's not just about employing people.
For police and medical.
Yes, I think that it's just coincidental that this is happening at the same time. I don't think it was meant for this. The policy has not removed doctors. It hasn't removed nurses. Okay, the policy has removed fund that people use in buying vaccine, has removed vaccine, has removed drugs, has removed support in all these areas, has removed. We're talking about malaria vaccine. We're talking about all the other vaccines. Okay, we're talking about primary healthcare renovation and all that. This is not human. This is not personnel. Okay, this is fund, materials, equipment, and all that. That's what has stopped through the U.S. President's stoppage of hate. However, what the federal government is doing is to also bridge a gap. There's a gap in the medical personnel in the country today, as you know, through the jackpot problem. And so I think the federal government is also trying to say, look, what can we do to bridge this gap and assist at the level of the state as well as the local government. So it has nothing really per se to do with the funding. We're talking about money coming from the United States, and we've been spoiled. I must confess to you, so many things have been done for us that we should do for ourselves. Unfortunately, we never prepared for this time, but it has come, and we must stand up to it.
Okay, the bulk of these medical challenges will be on you experts who are on the field. Do you think that we can improvise some things that we either to collect from foreign countries so that we can be able to cater for our people?
Well, I agree with you. You know, there's a saying that necessity is the mother of invention. When you know that there's something, nothing. That's what India did. Indians produce a lot of medications, even the HIV drugs. They started producing it at a point. Okay, when the COVID was around, India produced its own vaccine. In fact, Nigeria bought vaccine from India, and we were just consuming and consuming. Okay, the government, we were not really looking at what else can we do. Nigeria is a great country, has a lot of great people, great scientists that can do a lot of things for the country. And I think if the facility, the opportunity, the fund is made available, people can do everything and say, look, why can't we produce our own vaccine? Why can't we produce our own medications and supply this to our own people? I think it's going to help us to turn around things and see how we can help ourselves rather than always depending on help from above.
Okay, I can see that you in the orthodox medicine, you always see some negativity in traditional medicine. Okay, they also transform it into tradomedical, even that some universities are offering. But why there's no synergy between you, orthodox, and the traditional? Because after all, they are also making some breakthrough too.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, the problem is actually the method that most of those things are used. Some of them, they will tell you this is what you don't even know the component of those things. You don't know what the.
But they know it.
They say they know it. But if you buy if you get a medication, an orthodox medication, you will see the compound, you will see the formula, so that anybody can produce it. And that was what happened to India. India got some formula from the United States of America and started producing anti-HIV drugs for themselves. So look, our people cannot afford what you are selling to us. We must produce our own. But the traditional medications, you don't know the formula, and of course, a lot of them are also full of complications, side effects. You don't know how much of it do you take. Some of them you have to add incantation to it, which they are not going to spell out.
But not all.
Not all, but some. I'm not against traditional medicine. Many of them they do work, okay. But we must research into it. When I was the chief medical director, there was a committee we set up to look into our own traditional drugs. Okay. Unfortunately, we didn't get much. I hope the current person will be able to pick this up and do. And I think Mr. Governor too is interested in this. We should look at our own traditional medicine. How can we make it better? Okay, many of those guys are illiterate, they don't know much. Okay, how can we educate them and teach them and bring this into our own practice? But I must confess to you that apart from the use of traditional medicine, even the orthodox medicine, there are a lot that can be produced here. Okay, if the favorable environment is encouraged. We talk about electricity, for example, talk about water, for example. All these are things that affect the production and that increase the cost. And so people prefer to just go and import and bring it in. Even many of those may be fake. and you see a lot of fake drugs also being produced all over the place. So I think it's a good time for us to do everything, to sit and the Ministry of Health must be able to help us, the Federal Ministry of Health must be able to help us to do this.
Okay, well now when we look at it, can we say that the bulk of this blame is on the government that does not give the conducive atmosphere for practitioners to produce alternative to what the foreign countries are giving to us?
Yeah, yes, likely yes. But you know, over the years, a lot of our infrastructures are done, and you see a lot of companies that are producing some of these things actually moving out of the country. Electricity is not stable, and a lot of people don't want to establish their company where electricity is not stable. Okay, a lot of American companies were moving to China. Why? The labor is cheap, the electricity is there, water is not a problem, and all that. So if we have all this available in Nigeria, electricity is stable and all that, our own labor too will be cheaper than what you will see in the United States. So you see United States companies also coming here, even other countries coming here and collaborating with our own people. Of course, there are a lot of our people who are interested, who want to do some of these things if the environment is conducive. So I think the government over the years, we have neglected certain things, the infrastructural development, and that has affected us so badly, especially electricity.
Okay, that is Professor Olaitan from University of Osun State. We are going to continue after this short break. Please do join us again at the other side. We have discussed about the influence of the effect of U.S. withdrawing some aids to Nigeria in terms of aid. Then we want to dabble into Nigeria, the Nigerian factor with respect to aid. Let us have a short break. So, Newsmaker with Professor Olaitan from Osun State Teaching Hospital, Osogbo here. Thank you very much for being my guest today.
Thank you.
Now, we want to look into you gone at the time when you were being trained to become a doctor. Now you are a jail doctor. But we want to look at you are still, as a doctor, you are still teaching some students in this particular field. Then, can you say the cost of producing a doctor? Some people will say that in Nigeria it is bearable when you compare to foreign countries. But in Nigeria, here, where some people say that it's bearable, you see some people saying that for you to get admission or to work or to be in 100 level, you have to have something like even up to 1.5 million or more than that in public school, let alone private school. Can we say that the cost of producing a medical doctor, do you support people are saying that in Nigeria is cheaper than that of abroad?
Oh, definitely it is. Producing doctor. Let's look at the public institutions. The public institutions like OAU, Ibadan, Unilag, even Osun. Okay, the cost of tuition is just some small money.
Okay. For somebody like you.
No, for everybody, for anybody. Okay, because the public supports that, the government supports that. Okay, so it's a public institution. So maybe for less than 200,000 naira in a year, you are in school. Okay, maybe Osun is a little more than that. But when you get to private universities, you see some private universities charging 5 million, 6 million per year. Okay, that will actually give you an idea of what the government is subsidizing in public institutions. Even then, 5 million, 6 million naira in Nigeria today is still far cheaper than you moving abroad. There was a time in Ukraine, you go to Ukraine, you spend about $2,000 US, $3,000 US to train. At that time, it was around 750,000 naira when you put it together. But $3,000 today is about 4.55 million naira. Okay, that's aside from other things that you're going to be putting in place. So, not to talk of if you go to United States, Germany, or United Kingdom, it's much more. An average doctor, by the time he finishes in the United Kingdom, stay is owing, because usually you take loan, and is owing about 500,000 US dollars that he will have to continue to pay after he graduates. So, and that's why people say it's cheaper here, because the government is supporting it, no doubt. Even those private ones are still much cheaper in Nigeria than going abroad.
I wanted to divert a little bit to the issue of a loan. The federal government has launched loan for students in Nigeria. When you compare it to that of the loan, possibly we want to copy what is happening abroad. Is our own also feasible?
It is, and actually a lot of people in the academics are already were talking about this. Make loans available to students. One is that it's going to be able to make every child that has finished secondary school to go to the university. In the United States, UK, primary school to high school is free. So it's only when you want to enter into the university that you pay. And so if you want to enter into you want to go to the university, you still don't have the capacity, then you have access to the loan. So there's nothing restricting you from getting your education. And that also, because you are going to pay appropriate fund to the university, to the institution you are going, it also allows the institution to be able to make available those things that you need. Now, the federal government is saying we are offering subsidized education and then not making appropriate infrastructural facilities available. So that is reducing the quality of the education that the students are getting. And so that's why some people are saying give the loan to everybody that wants the loan, but make sure that the public institutions are also made to pay what they should pay, so that those institutions can also use those funds to also develop the place.
And on the final note, today we cannot do this program without talking about the Japa Syndrome. Okay, some people have been trained in Nigeria to become doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and some other things like that, with the aim of going abroad, because they believe that firstly, job is not affordable in Nigeria. Then secondly, when they go there, they get greener pasture. What is your advice to people of that mind?
Well, the truth of the matter is that every human being wants to get somewhere, so everyone where he thinks that the land is greener. Okay, so I think that is a human nature.
The love for one's country.
Yes, there must be love for one's country. But if you look at the Quran, the Bible, people even those days, once there is a famine in a land, they move to another land to look for greener pasture. So it's been a human thing. Okay, so we then as a country must look at what are the things that are pushing them out. What are the things that are pulling them to that place from those countries? Okay, pulling factors with good education, security, electricity, good pay. Those are the pulling factors. Oh, I want to enjoy life. They go there. So can we make those things available here so that they can stay? Now, pushing factor will be those things that we're talking about. No electricity, the salary is poor, no loan, no car loan, no housing loan. Can we do that? If we do this, we juggle between these two, I'm sure that more people will want to stay than going outside the country.
Okay, what is your advice to the parents who support training them here, sending them abroad?
No, it's everybody. You are training your child because you want the best out of him. So if your child, you've trained him, is working 3-4 years, it can't bring something to you. It's difficult for you to say that child now has an opportunity somewhere else and say, oh, don't go please, because of the love of the country. I believe that yes, we must be patriotic to our own country, but then the country also should look at how the people can be taken care of. If we all look at it this way, I think Nigeria will be better and we will be better taken care of. Our health care will be much better.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of the management of the corporation and the editorial advisor, Muturayo Ayegbayo, and the producer, Oluwatoyin Yusuf, as well as the crew on duty, we appreciate you. The person you have been watching since some minutes ago has been the immediate past Chief Medical Director of Osun State University Teaching Hospital. Professor Peter Babatunde Olaita. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you.
It's nice to be here.
I'm Adeleke Abijeli. By the grace of God, we are going to meet again next week with another guest. I say bye for now.